Hi everyone, welcome to week 13 of the 2023 spring garden here at Riley's Garden. This week we've got some harvest to do, starting with these onions. Going to take you through the whole garden, and we're going to finish off on the patio garden, and I'll show you all the damage from last week's storm, what I could save, what I couldn't save, and a few new problems that have popped up. I went ahead and I already pushed all of these over. I need this bed because I want to transplant what's left of my pepper plants that are still in pots on the patio, and I really want to get them in this bed. So we're going to go ahead and harvest all these onions this week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take them out of this bed. I have a garden bed that I left fallow this year, and I'm just going to be laying them on top of that garden bed to let them dry out for a few days. Now, as long as it doesn't rain, I'll keep them there. If there's going to be rain, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them in a cardboard box under my patio where it's protected. Not a bad harvest. Some of these, like that, came out really great. And there's quite a few of those in here. So I'm just going to finish off pulling the rest of these up. Some of them like that didn't even form, so some of these little ones like that we'll be eating tonight. Looking good. Oh yeah, great. So what I'll do after these dry out for a week is I'll go ahead and cut the roots off. I'll cut these leaves off, and I'll put them in storage. And if I do it right, they should last a good long time, longer than I would need, because we would eat these well before they were bad. All right. Job done with the onions. We'll put them in the other garden bed when we get that far in the garden. I already pruned all of these today. Not too long from now, and these will be big enough that I can grow them up these posts here vertically. They're not quite big enough yet. And I took a lot of leaves off these this morning. Nearly filled my entire compost bin. I've got one here that we're gonna take off there. Beautiful little zucchini, and I have two others that I already harvested this morning when I was pruning all of these. Behind me on this side, I have pepper plants, and I put a little cage around them. I find that helps when I grow my pepper plants. I don't prune them or do anything special with them. And behind them, sugar baby watermelons, they're coming in great. And next week, we're gonna have to build that trellis above these two big patio beds that I talked about last week. Let's go ahead and move on. I'll show you the buttercup squash. Some are coming in, the plants look pretty good. I also did a lot of pruning on these buttercup squash today. That all went in the compost bin, but we've got a few really nice ones growing in, one here and another one down here. And I have never grown a plant that attracts honeybees like these buttercup squash attract. It's been amazing to come out in the mornings and see dozens of honeybees. You look in those yellow flowers because they're opened up in the morning, and there's 2 or 3 honeybees in almost every single one of them, which is pretty amazing. I'm going to let these continue to grow up. We're going to train them up, and hopefully we'll get a few more of these buttercup squash growing on them this year. Well, the onions are all in the bed. I got to check the weather because I see clouds rolling in now. Hopefully we won't get any rain and I can just leave them there. But we've got quite a few, a couple dozen onions, which I'm really excited about. More peppers growing over here, and I put the cage up, and a lot more of these sugar baby watermelons growing. And they shouldn't be ready yet. They should take around 76 days, and they've only been in here about 45 days since I transplanted them. So I'm going to keep a real close eye on these because I can't wait to harvest and try these. There are my banana plants, my dwarf banana trees that I planted. I don't know how well they're going to do in this climate. We'll see. And there is the last zucchini bed, which I heavily pruned today. It may look scraggly, but I promise you, they're almost ready to start growing vertically. So I'm excited about that. And growing up the back trellis, we have some Vortex green beans. And I wish I had had more seeds, but I had very few seeds that I planted in there, but they seem to be thriving now that I took care of the caterpillar problem. Let's head on over to the patio and I'll show you what's good and what's bad on the patio garden. Okay, first of all, there are some diplomat cantaloupes growing, and I'm going to be growing them up my trellis, and I have some growing on either side of this trellis. Let me take you around now. And I lost the top off of that middle tomato plant, so it is really struggling now, and that one may have to just come out. We'll see. The cucumbers just took an absolute beating. They are starting to fill back in, and I am just going to let those go. I am not going to really do any major pruning or anything else. I may take off some of those damaged leaves, but that is it. My big beef tomatoes are just doing amazing. Look at all of these tomatoes coming in. I mean, they are everywhere. This big beef from Johnny's Seeds I absolutely love. They just look great. Now, this tomato plant, you see how curly and deformed the tops of those are? That is the curly leaf virus that is transmitted by a moth. I am pretty sure it's the curly leaf virus. And it is going to be a deformed plant, so I am going to go ahead and pull that out today. I have another tomato plant that's not in great shape. It's in a pot, and maybe I'll replace it. But you win some, you lose some. My sugar cube cantaloupes look great, but compared to the sugar cube watermelon, I have very little germination, which brings me to another point. Every year since I moved to South Texas, I have struggled with the cucumber beetle. And this year, I have not seen a single one. And that could be because this year I planted French marigolds in front of these cucumbers. I planted them in front of these cucumbers. Sorry, those are cantaloupes. And I've not seen a single cucumber beetle. What I have seen are little tiny ants that are getting in those flowers. I don't know if that's impacting germination or not. But moving right along, these are more of the Roma tomatoes. I'm sorry, they're not Roma tomatoes. They are San Marzano tomatoes. And they seem to be doing okay. There's a lot of fruit set, but you just can't see it. Let me show you. There you can see some of the fruit set in there. And more of my cucumber plants that are just so beat up. And again, I may take off some of the damaged leaves, but I'm just going to let these just go. There's just a few cucumbers I want to pull off of here. There's one right there. I'm going to just twist that off. And there's another one right here. And twist that off. A couple of cucumbers. So zucchini's growing great. The sugar baby watermelon's growing great. Buttercup squash looks great. We got a ton of onions. Cucumbers really suffering. We're just going to let these take off. The big beef tomatoes, except for that one with the curly leaf virus that I'll be pulling out today, they're doing amazing this year. And the San Marzanos, both here and on the back side, doing pretty good. Not as prolific as the plum tomatoes that I planted last year from Johnny's seeds. Those grew just, I couldn't believe how many tomatoes I got off of those. So I'm probably going to grow those again in the fall here in South Texas. But I want to thank everybody for joining the video this week. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next week.